Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today is a fun, easy, pretty quick, but the results are stunning for this technique. Now, this has been around for a long time, and there's sort of lots of different versions of it. This today is kind of the spotlight embossing folders. There is also spotlight stamping, spotlight die cutting, and as I said, today we are going to highlight embossing folders. Now, all I have set out here in front of me is usually 3 or so inks that I think are going to go nicely together. This is squeezed lemonade, mustard seed, and spiced marmalade. I've got some blues. I've also got a couple of like peacock feathers and then the hickory smoke. I thought they might go nicely together. I am going to be using some masking paper today. This is the Gina Masking Magic. I keep all of my scraps, as you can see in there, and then I have the big pieces as well at the back. This is my go-to masking paper. This can be inked up over and over and over again. This lasts so long, which is fantastic. It means I can reuse it over and over again. Now, you also need, well, you don't absolutely need, but it's easier if you have some dies. Now, I have got these are what I'm intending to use. Now, I have these 3, but I also really wanted to use these. These are the nested A2 arches from scrapbook.com, but otherwise on the left is the Essential Modern Ovals from Spellbinders, circles in the middle, and the honeybee stacking hearts on the right. So all I have done is taken some of the Masking Magic paper. I have it cut down already into 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch sheets. I chose a size that I thought would work for the project. Place it where you want on your sheet and then die cut. So you can see I've got 3 die cut here for the minute. I need to not get overly ambitious with how many cards I create in one video, so I'm going to try and stick to this. Now, this is the easy part here. I like cutting my panels to 4 1/4 by 5.5. just so I can line it up with the edge of the card front that I'm working on, and I know it's where I want it to be. It's all lined up, and I haven't got it wonky. So that's just me. That's just how I sort of work in my head. Now, this is the heart, obviously. I'm going to start off with some Villainous Potion, some Wilted Violet, and some shaded lilac. Now, I'm just using some finger daubers to do this. You can use whatever. You could use cotton balls, you can use makeup sponges, you can use brushes, whatever you would like to try and get a bit of a blend. It doesn't have to be perfect either. Now, there is number 1 card. I'm going to leave that one to dry, move on to my next one. Now, what I prefer here with the Masking Magic, I actually take off half of the release paper off the back, and then I put down the bit that's still got the release paper on. I put that down and I line it up. So the sticky bit's in my right hand at the moment. Once I've lined it up, I press down with my right hand, then I can lift up the bit that's still got the release paper on, and then everything is all lined up perfect, and it makes it really, really easy. Now, absolutely, you can do this with any, you could cut just an organic shape if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be a die cut. Just freehand it with some scissors. Even a torn edge looks beautiful. I have videos like that on my channel where I use torn paper and create it. That is stunning as well. So, up to you. Be creative and see what you can come up with. But if you have any dies, remember these can be any shapes. They could even be the outline of a die that's a coordinating die. So you might have a coordinating die that would actually look wonderful with the colors in the middle. So here we go, last one. I've got a circle. I kept this all pretty plain, but as I said, you could go crazy. You could have several circles on one page. You could layer them up. I mean, there's all sorts of fun things. This one here, I just have 2 colors. I have picked raspberry up the top and spiced marmalade down the bottom. Now, I actually came in a little bit, I sort of wanted this to be a little more maybe pastel than I came at it here. I've come really heavy-handed with the ink, and that's okay. I just wanted to lighten it up, so I'm actually going to add a little bit of water and then not let it sit for too long, and then I blotted it with a paper towel, and the paper towel had some texture in it, and I liked that, so I decided to leave it. That is another thing I like, is that the Gina Masking Magic can hold up to some water as well, which is great. Now, keep these masks. You may want them for later. If you don't want them for this project, put the release paper back on the back, keep them in the back of your masking paper little storage, and you can use them another time because they are still perfect. They are not torn, they still are sturdy. But this is my favorite part. Taking off the masking paper is just that clean, beautiful, crisp edges. Now these are a couple of the embossing folders that I pulled out. This one is going to be my favorite because it has more of an image on the front. This is the Calming Cluster from Altenew, and I really do love this. I have so many videos showing this embossing folder, but when there's a good embossing folder or a good product, I'm going to keep using it again and again and again. Now, the other ones are more sort of all over patterns, which that's okay. I don't have many embossing folders, so I don't have a whole lot of choice. You may already have more choice in your stash. But I am just going to use what I have to hand, and this is the only sort of image one. So I'm going to do 2 of these with this, and then I'm going to run the heart through with the all over pattern as well, the tiles. So aren't these stunning? Even when they come out just like that, without us doing any more, these are gorgeous anyhow. Now you may choose to use lighter colors. You could use really, really light-handed, and that would you would see the embossing beautiful too. But just look how stunning that is, and that selective highlighted spotlight embossing is stunning. Now we are going to do a couple more things to do with these, just because you know me, I can't leave well alone. Now I'm going to actually put the mask back on here once we've done the embossing, and there are lots of things that you can do. First of all, you can use the same color to run over it again and highlight. It'll sort of pick up the edges a bit more. Now, if that's not enough for you, it's a little bit hard to see at the moment because the mask is on and masking everything else, but it's definitely highlighted a little bit. I'm going to go direct to paper, and I am going to take the equivalent color, and that has also worked. The orange was just not what I wanted it to be. So the pink looks good. I came in with a tissue to see if any of the ink was still wet and I could pick it up, but this time I'm coming in with the pink raspberry ink pad, and I'm going to run that over the orange too, and that has highlighted the edges even more. Now again, pulling off those beautiful crisp edges up here. Here's another option. This is the Unicorn White Pigment ink. This is a beautiful ink for highlighting any embossing that you do. I'm going to very, very lightly, and I'm holding the tool quite vertical, quite up and down, because all I want to do is catch the edges of the embossing. I'm not trying to colour the base at all. Same here when I go over, I just want to catch the raised portions of the embossing. Now, when it comes to turning these into cards, I am going to follow through. I like seeing backgrounds as much as the next person, but I also love it when they show me how I go about turning it into cards. So let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be really interested to know, do you like seeing just videos of backgrounds, or is your preference that you do the follow through and you actually show them how they can be created into cards, or used on cards at least, depending on what you're creating? So let me know. Now I decided that I wanted a little bit of a pink border here. This is just my matting layer trick, but absolutely go for gold. You can add just another piece of cardstock and that will do exactly the same thing. Sometimes I like doing this just because it creates a bit less bulk on the cards, one less layer of cardstock, but definitely to each their own. Then I'm going to add some liquid glue, pop this down onto a square card base, just for something different, just to sort of change it up a little bit. And the liquid glue, I'm able to push this into place and make sure that I have everything square and nice and even. I'm actually going to put this one aside for just a minute whilst I work on the other one, because I hadn't got the sentiment ready for this one. This is stunning. I do love the gorgeous embossing in the center. The color is beautiful. Now for this portion here, I'm actually just using a makeup sponge wedge because I didn't feel like going hunting around for a domed foam blender, and this was just doing the trick. It was sitting there right there in front of me, so that's what I'm going to use. It's actually got a nice flat edge. I can catch all of the embossing just perfectly, and this is the shaded lilac. So this is just giving that little embossing a tiny, tiny little dusting of color without taking away from the big highlighted bit that we've got in the center, that's for sure. Now this is the Hugs from Waffle Flower. I have previously cut this out. If you've watched a couple of videos ago, this was a spear, and I want to use those spears that I have around, so I stored it in the back of my little Hugs die. I'm going to take 2 layers of cardstock that accidentally got water on them. So I dried them out, and I'm going to use them as little layers to pop up this card a little bit, sort of instead of foam tape. Rather than throwing them in the bin, I went to the effort of drying them out so that at least I could use them. They are a bit water stained, but no one will see them back there, so that's okay. I went around the edges with a little bit of the wilted violet or villainous potion, maybe the villainous potion. And then I'm going to pop this onto my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. I do keep checking my fingers because I know I keep putting it in that wet ink. Now these, when I cut them out, one is in black cardstock, one is in white cardstock. They both have the sticker adhesive on the back, which makes life super, super easy when it comes to adhering them down onto the shadow and then adhering them down onto the card as well. I use my little Kaisercraft tool just to kind of get under there if I don't have good fingernails. And then this one is just going to sit down the bottom. It stands out perfectly from the background. And yet I do think with an all over pattern, I feel less inclined that I'm going to cover something up with the embossing folder. So I was pretty happy with this one. Then a little for you. This is from the All Occasions Paper Rose Sentiments set that I use all the time. So hugs for you. This is absolutely stunning. I'm going to take my white gel pen and just add a few little dots. I absolutely could have just put some splatter on here, but this is just a more controlled version of doing that. And sometimes less mess is good for me too. And I had already completed the card, so this worked out well. So this is number 1. I really like this. It's got a little bit of dimension with the cardstock popping it up, but not too much at all. Now, here are the things that I'm going to use for the next one. Coming back to finish this one off, I have the Gina K Birthday Cheer Mini set, and then I have the Lawn Fawn stitched labels. Now, I just store a whole lot of these in the back, and then I can get out the one I want. If I haven't already got it cut, if I was going to do, if I needed it on black or some cream, then I'm going to have to cut them again. But I do store a whole lot of white ones in the back, nice and easy. Then I'm going to stamp this in some VersaFine Onyx black ink, just beautiful crisp pigment stamping ink. And then I have the Happy Birthday, which is going to fit perfectly on the front of this little label. But then I'm also going to use this set for the inside of the card as well. I do love a good stamp set that has sentiments I can use on the front and then also some for the middle, because I don't like to store a whole lot of stamps for the inside, but I do love popping some little sentiments inside the cards sometimes. Some people prefer it, some people prefer blank cards, so it's up to them. This says, hope your day is filled with love, laughter and lots of birthday cake. I quite like that. Then I'm just going to pop this up on a little bit of foam tape and pop this up in the corner because, as I said, I do not want to hide all of this gorgeous embossing, and it sits up there perfectly. I couldn't help but add a tiny little bit of stitching around here with just a white gel pen, and I think it finishes this card off nicely. Now, if you were inspired by this video today, don't forget to jump onto my Facebook page called Come Crafting with Natasha, and you can post your photos there. If you'd like to support my page, then jump onto the Buy Me a Coffee link that I will leave you down below. I'm so grateful for those who choose to support me and are able to. I really, really appreciate it. It helps me more than you know. But other than that, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!